What is up, everyone? Alex here with another League of Legends skin tier list, this time on Graves, the Outlaw. So, some quick coverage on Graves. Well, as his title would suggest, he's, well, an outlaw. Growing up in the seedy pirate town of Bilgewater, he met Twisted Fate, and the two kind of bonded because they were criminals, sure, but they both had this roguish sense of honor between them. And in their younger days, they ran into all sorts of trouble, with Twisted Fate trying to smooth his way out of it, and Graves, well, he's a man who likes his shotgun. I'll just leave it at that. However, one day they bit off a little more than they could chew, and Twisted Fate had to leave Graves behind to spend several years in prison before the man escaped, stole the warden's fancy shotgun, and began hunting down his fellow cutthroat. Some more stuff happened along the way, and the two are sort of a team again, and getting back into their usual flow of things, getting into trouble, and then lucking their way out of it again. So here at Rainy Day Gaming, we make quality jokes here about how I'm a baby brain 80 carry main and how I'm old and have been playing this game since 2010. Well, what if I told you Graves used to be an 80 carry instead of a jungler? Oh, that's common knowledge. Well, whatever. But yes, his lane of choice used to be in the bot lane, and I remember on release, he was incredibly broken and very fun. Back then, most 80 carries kept at a range, and if an enemy champion got close enough to sneeze on them, they died. Not Graves, though. He would dash in and blow people up without a second thought. Pretty much what he still does, except building attack speed back then turned his shotgun into a machine gun, but that's really just semantics at this point. Now, though, he's a jungler that focuses on kiting camps and hunting down the enemy jungler, where they then die from a bad case of buckshot poisoning. But enough about old school League and the lore behind Mr. Malcolm Graves. We have a skin tier list to get to, and in order of release for his skins, we have Jailbreak, Hired Gun, Mafia, Riot, Pool Party, Cutthroat, Snow Day, Victorious, Mystery Man, Riverboat, Praetorian, and Battle Professor Graves, finishing out our list. This is going to be a weird tier list today because there's a weird kind of balance. A lot of the skins hit the lower end and a lot in the higher end. It's going to be a strange ride. Quite a bit to get through, so without delay, let's talk about our D tier. If you're new here, well then D tier is basically as low as I get on these tier lists. But for good reason. Skins in this tier, well, they're bad, and I don't like them. They're often just a recolor or a remodel that actually is visually less appealing than the normal base model. Unfortunately for D tier, Graves kind of has a kick-ass base model to work with, so we're going to get some D tier material put in here. Sorry, I don't make the rules, that's just how it works. But first, there is the super rare, legendary F tier, skins that just straight up fail, and we have Mystery Man and Riverboat Graves. I'm going to talk about them at the same time because they have the same issue. When you click to use these skins in-game, it changes your perspective of League from an over-the-top angle to a first-person perspective. Instead of a shotgun, you get a revolver. Seriously, 0 out of 10. Definitely do not recommend either one of these. Sorry to say to anyone who likes these, but it basically feels like playing a completely different game. I don't know, maybe if League of Legends gets a sequel called League of Legends 2, or if League of Legends comes out with a shooter, like that's ever gonna happen, they can improve on these, but for now, on to the rest of D tier. Alright, meta jokes aside, for real this time, the first entry in our D tier is actually Hired Gun Graves, clocking in at 520 RP. It's a release skin, and it's a model change, giving him this denim jacket with a, quite frankly, just awful haircut. I seriously don't have a lot to say about this one, other than it just had a lot to compete with when it comes to Graves' normal look with the really cool red poncho and the, quite frankly, really badass looking shotgun. So you're trying to tell me you're going to replace the really cool shotgun and the red poncho with a lame-ass looking shotgun that looks like he made it out of a garbage can and a blue denim jacket he bought from a country concert. Nope, I'm going to take normal Graves any day of the week over this one. Next up is Cutthroat Graves, clocking in at 750 RP. Graves, buddy, I know you grew up in Bilgewater, but the pirate getup and the cannon instead of a shotgun, it's just not a good look, my dude, especially with that southern accent. Get a pirate accent. I make jokes about everyone needing an edgy skin in their lineup, and Graves is this one, I suppose. I hate the cannon. I hate the haircut. I hate the collar that literally goes up to his head. And also in his splash art, does that not look like he's auditioning for a role in Gears of War? Is that just me noticing these things or what? Similarly to Hired Gun Graves, it's just a model change. It brings nothing new as far as spell effects or new animations, so that, combined with the, quite frankly, lame-looking model, sends it straight into D tier. But bright side is, that's the end of D tier for today. Alright, next up is our C tier. Quick summation of C tier. Generally, these are average, maybe one or two good things about them, but they can't really compete at all with the stuff in B tier and above, in my opinion. And in some cases, it could be a skin that's actually pretty decent, but for whatever reason, I hate it. Keep that in mind going forward. It's gonna be important. First one we're gonna talk about is Jailbreak, and it's got some issues. First of all, it's in the Legacy Vault, and that's never a good way to start these. Next up, it costs 975 RP, which doesn't matter too much, seeing as, like I said, it's a Legacy skin. It's also a release skin, which those usually aren't too flashy to begin with. And lastly, it's simply a model change, nothing more. Now, you might be asking, why isn't this in D tier? Well, I'm a comic book nerd, and it reminds me a lot of Cable. But also, it's not a horrible remodel, and apparently it got updated for the Galaxy set in TFT recently. I don't know, I haven't seen it in-game, and finding footage has been a total chore, if I'm being completely honest, but it doesn't do much else. So we're gonna head on to our next entry in C tier, which is Praetorian, clocking in at 1350 RP. Alright, so listen up. This is a little bit of a hot take. I hate this skin. I don't like it at all, but it's in C tier because it does do a lot, but not necessarily in the right ways. Firstly, it's not Graves anymore. It's Bastion from Overwatch. Oh hey, check that out. 2 Overwatch references in one video. Can I make it a third? Well, I don't know yet. I'm still writing the script. If he's not Bastion, then he's nameless robot enemy number 3 from some random shooter. Look at how generic he looks. Like, come on. So, Graves has a lot of gallows humor, and some manly quips he spews while playing him, but with Praetorian? Nope. Robots don't die, so they can't use gallows humor. They're gonna make weird noises instead, but words? No, you can't have that. Also, another hot take, if I have to read one more comment about how Graves doesn't have a cigar anymore, I'm gonna lose it. He quit smoking according to Twisted Fate. See? Boom. The thing from the wiki, because that's obviously gonna be a great source of information. Also, it's like a marketing thing. You can't have people smoke anymore. It's not Mad Men. Smoking isn't cool. We're all gonna have to accept the change here. So, it has some new fancy effects. The wiki says he gets a voice filter, but it's more like he gets his voice taken away and replaced with the Geth sound effects from Mass Effect. The skin's one redeemable quality to me is that its recall animation is actually hilarious. It also does get a bunch of chromas to choose from, with the best one in my opinion being locked behind buying all of them, unfortunately. Alright, that's enough on this one. I hate it. I'd never use it, but even I have to admit, a lot of work got put here. But just because you put a lot of work into something doesn't mean it's going to be good. Just look at my videos, for example. Why would you write that? That's so mean. Next up, B tier. I like B tier. B tier is a great tier. It's basically kind of the opposite of C tier. These are all good skins, but with like 1 or 2 things holding it back, or maybe something minor that annoys me. Definitely not a bad tier by any means, though. Anything ranked from here on out, I'd be happy to use or get out of a chest or something. Our first and, well, only entry is Pool Party Graves, clocking in at 1350 RP. Alright, before you comment saying I'm wrong, what am I saying? The video's already probably halfway over. You've definitely already done that by now. But this is a personal thing. I'm usually not a fan of the Pool Party skins. I don't like the weird splashy sound effects, especially on ranged carries. I want my autos to have a satisfying noise to them. I don't want to feel like I'm hitting them with a Super Soaker, which is ironic because that's what Graves is using. As for spells, his Q gets replaced with a water balloon, his smoke screen gets replaced with a sprinkler, his ultimate kind of just turns into a big blast of water instead of the fire and shrapnel that's in his base skin. As far as new animations go, we get a fun recall that involves a diving board. The skin also has a bunch of chromas to choose from, if you're not a fan of the base model of it. My favorite of these is the 1920s era red and white striped Where's Waldo version of it. This is just a really solid B tier skin, all things considered. The only thing holding it back for me, again, are the splashy sound effects. They kind of drive me up the wall if I'm listening to them for a long period of time, especially for those longer 60-minute long games. But that's a personal gripe, and we're going to be moving on to our A tier now. A tier is always going to list a champion's best skins. Any problems I have with them are really nitpicky at this point. The S tier is just going to be my own personal favorite, but basically treat A and S as basically the same thing as far as quality goes. So we're going to start things out with Mafia Graves, costing 975 RP. I want to start out our A tier with this one in particular because something I haven't mentioned so far that became very apparent during my research of these skins is the feeling of the auto attack animations. I don't play much modern Graves, but as an AD carry main, I definitely understand the importance of that, at least to a degree. And pretty much every thread, every comment I read talking about that aspect, it was basically universally accepted that Mafia Graves' auto attacks felt the best. Is it a weird thing to bring it up into A tier? Sure, but it's also a really good model change. Wait. This is called Crime City Graves?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
When did that happen? Alright, I'm probably just gonna keep calling it Mafia Graves. I'm hoping that nobody has had an issue with it so far. I'm a boomer, guys, and it's ingrained in my memory that this thing was called Mafia Graves. Anyway, it gets a cool trench coat, it's got a cool Peaky Blinders hat, the shotgun gets changed to a Tommy gun, it still functions as a shotgun, though having to be reloaded every 2 shots, despite the drum attachment looking like it could hold a lot more. But let's not think too hard about a cosmetic in a free-to-play MOBA, okay? Okay, this is just a super iconic looking skin. Even lacking spell effects and new animations, this skin is just stylish as hell and easily belongs in my A tier. Next up is the Victorious Graveskin, which was awarded to players who earned a gold ranking in 2017. So I was kind of on a hiatus from League of Legends at this point. I did not play much in 2015, and then not at all in 2016 and 2017. So I never even had the chance to get this one, and I think it's pretty slick looking. Now, I ran into some trouble during research. It seems like some people don't like this skin very much. I don't know if this is just a vocal minority, or maybe this is widely accepted. Let me know in the comments below, but for me, it's an A tier, top quality skin. It looks really good, kind of looking like if Graves had to appear at a royal court and had to clean up. I like the lion pauldron. I'm not insanely crazy with the purple cloak, but the skin does have chromas to help that out, with the black chroma and the navy blue chromas being my favorites. From what I've read, these chromas were awarded to players depending on which game mode they achieved gold in. Blue for 3v3s. Yes, I said 3v3s.
I will remember you.
Black for flex queue and white for solo queue. It is kind of funny that the most popular game mode gets the worst chroma, but that's showbiz, baby. All his spell effects usually involved a lot of smoke and fire and have been recolored into this gold and purple smoky effect to them that just looks really impressive to me. After coming back into League in the last 2 years, I've been trying to catch up on all the things I missed, and honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in myself that I wasn't trying to climb to gold in 2017, because it means I missed out on this very cool skin, and I'm kind of bummed out about it. But that showbiz, wait a minute, who writes these things? We used this joke already. Anyway, what's next? Snow Day Graves, costing 1350 RP and being a legacy skin, more than likely available to be bought around Christmas time. Cool. So I guess ice type skins beat out water type skins because I enjoy this one a lot more than Pool Party. My favorite season is winter, and as a result, I really love the wintry themed skins, with this one being no exception. First up, for some reason, I like the bulkier model that he has with this one, and the snowblower instead of the shotgun is hilarious to me and makes a lot of sense for the theme of the skin, as well as playing a important role in his new recall animation. All his abilities get snowy particles to them, as well as his smokescreen having a penguin that, well, I don't really know if it's supposed to be like a toy penguin or a real one, but whatever, it's a penguin, and I love him. His ulti also changes and makes it just kind of look like a big block of ice that breaks apart at its point of impact. If you're a fan of chromas, though, you're probably going to be a little disappointed because it only has the one, and it was a limited time golden one. But hey, overall, I really like the skin, and I think it's a pretty good winter-themed skin, which, for me, most of them are, in my opinion. Last up in A tier is Riot Graves, an incredibly rare skin, as all the Riot skins are, seeing as they were limited, and as the years go by, these become more and more rare, which is a good thing for League players such as myself, who have been playing since 2010 because, well, I own all of them. I'm sorry. This skin gets here on just the sheer fact of rarity alone, and the fact that I own it could be coloring my bias at least a little bit, because it's basically just a model change. But I mean, it's a pretty decent one, where you get some riot gear and a grenade launcher instead of a shotgun, I guess. Now, real quick, even though it is rare and was only available by meeting a rioter or by going to a riot event, honestly, I don't even remember how I got this one. It's not an impossibly rare skin to get, as you can get it from Hextech crafting, so there's still some hope in getting it if you really like this one. Honestly, not much more to say about this one. It makes it to A tier by rarity alone, but hey, I think it's cool, and it's my tier list, so leave me alone about it. Lastly comes the S tier, and it's Battle Professor Graves. It's a 1350 RP cost skin that does a lot for the champion. First up, he actually gets a homestart animation that has him running with, quite frankly, a ludicrous amount of books in his arms that also has a precariously balanced cup of coffee on top of it, and as if he wasn't multitasking enough, he's also eating some toast while he runs. He gets a new recall showing how he does not tolerate foolishness in his classroom, and quite frankly, he has a complete disregard for school property. Despite looking more like Soldier 76's pulse rifle, the shotgun is actually very cool looking, and oh hey, check that out, third Overwatch joke. Neat. He gets a pretty significant change wearing this cool coat. If I had to pick out a nitpicky thing about this skin, is that the wiki says there's a voice filter, but I don't really hear it at all. The voice also just kind of sounds weird, being this really harsh southern drawl that seems out of place coming out of this Battle Academia professor. But again, that's just getting kind of nitpicky. All of his spell effects get this really vivid looking cel-shaded look to them that's just very nice to look at. And, of course, he gets chromas, the Obsidian and Ruby variants being my favorites. Unfortunately, the Ruby one is locked behind buying the whole set, but whatever. Battle Professor is my favorite Graveskin, and the anime aesthetic definitely helps towards that, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Alright, and that is going to be the Graves skin tier list. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around until the very end of the video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to leave a like, comment below things like how you would have ranked the skins, maybe future champions for me to do a video on, maybe some cool things that I might have missed about these skins, especially if you main or you play a ton of Graves. Also, if you just found my channel, be sure to subscribe to stick around. It's not like I'm running out of skin tier list videos to do. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for today, so follow Graves' example and quit smoking. Just maybe cope in a better way than shotgunning all your problems away. I've been Alex, and I will see you all in the next one.